Neville Goddard, 1963 lectures, The Bible Your Biography. February 5th, 1963. When I tell you the Bible is your biography, I'm actually saying that you are God, and I mean it. We are told in the 82nd Psalm, I say, you are God's sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you shall die like men and fall like any prince. So I mean exactly what the psalmist said, that you are God's. But man has such a strange concept of the word God. I tell you, this morning's mail brought me a letter. I do not know the lady. She claims she is 82. She said, I am returning your latest book, The Law and the Promise. She can't be returning it to me because I did not sell it to her. She may have returned it to my publisher or to some store who sold her the book. She said, I read the 156 pages, the 40 stories told about the promise, and no credit was given to God. Not one who received the answer to their prayers thanked God. And so it is a godless book. So she is returning it to someone. Do not criticize her. She is 82 and undoubtedly, like any own mother and father who had strange and wonderful concepts of God, but God on the outside of themselves. God was on the outside to whom they turned, and she undoubtedly turned to some external, creative father, and that is her God. If she feels that way about it, you can't blame her when she reads in this, as I've brought the two together and identified God with human imagination. By identifying the two and making them one, I rubbed out the vision that has plagued man. For we are told all things were made by him, and without him was not made anything that was made. Then we discovered that we could imagine ourselves to be what we want to be, and remaining faithful, remaining loyal to that assumption, it became an external fact in our world. If all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made, and we did this as an experiment and it worked, well then, we discovered God! Exclamation point. And he wasn't some being in space who would return. We found him in ourselves as our own wonderful human imagination. That we failed many times, certainly we are still torn between the concept of God, the Father of David, and what we ourselves discovered. So we are still under that influence of an ancient concept of God. So she is going to return the book, and let us feel that tomorrow she will see who God really is, but don't judge her. Not harshly anyway. Leave her exactly as she is. Because at least she believes in God, which is far greater than not to believe in some power that is creative in this world. Now we turn to the book of books. You can't read it by saying, well, I opened the book and read from Genesis to Revelation. There are 66 books in what we call the Bible. It's a library. The Old Testament is something you almost can't believe, certainly not with sense, without the key given us in the New. The New is completely hidden in the Old, and the Old is made manifest in the New. So we turn to the first book, the book of beginning, the book of Genesis, and listen carefully. We are dealing with a mystery. When I speak of a mystery, I am not speaking of a matter that must be kept secret, but a truth that is mysterious in character. And the book of Genesis has a strange reversal of order right through it. The first shall be last, and the last first. This reversal of order begins right in the very beginning. Let us see what is first stated in the book, in the beginning, God. That is the beginning. The end of the book, in a coffin in Egypt. In the beginning, God, in a coffin in Egypt. And the one placed in a coffin is man. Then he was called Joseph, and Joseph died. He was 110 years old, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. So here we find the beginning and the end. I am the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. Let us see how the thing unfolds for us. In the first chapter, God's purpose is stated, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish in the sea, the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps over the earth. Let us give him dominion. That is God's purpose, not his creative act as yet. His creative act comes in the second chapter, but that is God's purpose, stated. He is going to make man in his own image and give him complete dominion over all things. In the second chapter comes the creative act, and God from the very dust of the ground made man and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Now jump from the second chapter, 7th verse, to the 21st verse. There you will find the creative act. He states this in the 7th verse and then completes the creative act from the 21st through the 24th verse. And God caused a deep sleep to fall upon man, and he slept. And then comes the creative act of the division of man, male, female. He now makes it. Man is not a male. Man is not a female. Man is the image of God, a being above the organization of sex. But he is destined to be that being. He is not yet completed. To arrive at that level where everything is subject to his creative power, he passes through this divided image of himself called male-female. Then we are told in the divided state, he is led up into a world of experience. Here was a world of innocence, because here he is dead, so the dead could not in any way be tempted. The grave could not violate anything. It is dead. Yet he is made alive. He is made alive by the sinking of God in himself. For God, don't forget the last verse, in a coffin in Egypt. But the story is, having made the image of himself, the image has no power in itself. It only becomes animate and alive and responsive if God sinks himself in his image. So God sinks himself in his image, and in that state, the image becomes divided, male, female, as we are. And then comes the most horrible story in the world, that God is in it. That image of himself, the very torment of eternity. It is necessary to take the image that was dead and just made responsive, made alive, but only made alive, which is a responsive state, and then to turn it into a life-giving being just by God. So it took the entire story of 6,000 years, called 6 days, to complete the act of God. Here, you and I are the beings. Now, you might want to take a note of that 6 days, 6,000 years. It's also what Blake wrote that Neville has. I just did all those lectures on the channel. Imagine Lovingly. This is a commercial for it. I just finished last night, finally at 1:30 a.m., the last lecture. I was missing one. Now 129 lectures I've remastered and posted on the channel called Imagine Lovingly. Go check it out if you want to hear Neville. And I was able to remaster these audios the best I could for what it was in the beginning. So they are a bit better than you might hear on other channels. And the levels are up as much as they can be. So check it out. But after finishing that project, I did hear a couple times in there, in some of those lectures as I was listening to them and going through them and trying to adjust volumes here and there, etc. And the whole story of the 6,000 years concept with Neville and Blake stating that, and one of the comments from one of the listeners at the lecture, one of the questions and answers, the lady was asking, what about this 6,000 years? I mean, do we have to live all of that before the promise? And the answer apparently was, as he just stated here, yes, that's the experience, and you don't know where you are in this wheel of 6,000 years. To me, if you're aware of the promise, you're at the end of the wheel of that 6,000 years. But see, there is no time also. So you have to reconcile the concept that it's all now and all creation's finished. So back to that image I used to draw on the board many times, where it all flowers out from a center. It's all blossoming out in an instant, in an eternal now. So 6,000 years has no, he's using that as a phrase here, which is 6 days, but it's also doesn't have any actual meaning. To me, if you're aware of the promise and you're concerned about whether you're going to experience it or you want to experience it or what have you, you're already there. If you're just aware of it, you're already there, because be at the promise or be at the visions of the promise and go try and tell somebody about it who is completely in the mindset of the world per se. They're in the world. For us, we're in the world, not of it, focused on this kind of work at this level. But when you're in the world and of it, then you're not focused on this type of work, and you're not going to hear something like the promise. You're definitely in the wheel of that 6,000 years in a different place. You're not aware of the promise. You wouldn't even be aware. Nothing would make you aware of the promise. It's not time. And the time is only given to you by Him. You can't even garner the time it happens to you. It won't be something you can earn. It's a gift of grace. Doing those lectures was fascinating. There's a lot of gold in those Neville lectures, and hopefully some of those ones that were really bad that you might heard on the internet in the past because they sounded so horrible. Hopefully I was able to do them a little bit of justice. And some of them you can't really hear at all. There's at least a couple too, that you can barely ascertain the words. But if you're a longtime Neville listener, then you can sit quietly with your eyes closed and you can make them out. But to some of them, at least two of them take some real effort. Okay. Let's repeat that last tiny paragraph. It is necessary to take the image that was dead and just made responsive, made alive, but only made alive, which is a responsive state, and then to turn it into a life-giving being just by God. So it took the entire story of 6,000 years, called 6 days, to complete the act of God. Here, you and I are the beings. I am not speaking from theory tonight. I'm speaking from experience. I tell you the story is true from beginning to end. And if I cannot stand here before you and demonstrate for your own satisfaction the might that is God, it is only because I am still wearing this garment of flesh. And so as long as I am wearing it, the glory of the heavenly inheritance cannot be actualized by me. Or at least it is not fully realized in me while I wear and continue to wear this garment of flesh. But everything said in the Bible, I have experienced. I have experienced the depths of my soul, and it is all true from beginning to end. I got to tell you, I over this last 3 or 4 days, 6 days, I've been working on that project and listening to all those Neville lectures and remastering the audio. It is, I just wanted to add a comment in here that it's mind-blowing when you discover the Seth material, and that's one thing that you create your own reality, and you take that ride like I have for 25 years consistently with my teacher, and even teaching it and sharing it and all this other wonderful stuff, and then get to a place where the Neville material speaks to you, but then you have the mystical experiences in vision. It wasn't something, and I wanted to make sure to bring this up, it wasn't something believe me, I got to some extreme heights in the Seth material. I got out of the official line of consciousness, which is a major, major step. I definitely punched out of that. And I lingered in this Zen state. I don't know what else to call it. These are just words. I lingered in this Zen state, I would say, for at least 2 or 3 months. I was just floating. And how that happened was by reading the first 8 Seth books in a row. So if anybody wants to get out of the official line of consciousness, Seth has devised a way for you not to be consciously aware of it happening while you're reading the first, his only dictated 8 Seth books in order of publication. Seth Speaks, Nature, Person, Reality, yada, 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 all 8 in order. That's how I popped out of the official line of consciousness. Now, that was a major, major accomplishment in that body of work, and just focusing on that body of work. My teacher and I focused heavily on that material. It's wonderful material. That laid a heck of a ground for what I'm experiencing here with the Neville material. I just call it that, with Neville Goddard's teachings. But to have these mystical experiences where you have characters inside of you in a vision, and I came into consciousness with a crown forming on my head, winning the fight. Having had the fight and winning the race with the three wise elders that looked like what they were, and I signed a contract and they told me I'm going to pass everybody. That's winning a race. I was on a motorcycle. Then of course the babe in swaddling clothes, and all those were very close to each other. What I'm trying to get to is that this weekend, while working on that project of the lectures, it dawned on me that, comparing these 2 bodies of works, and they're both profound. The Seth material is not to be trifled with. It's very wonderful, wonderful teachings in there. Lots of them. I mean, there's about 50 books in total of all Seth talking, basically. I'm not counting, maybe I'm counting a couple by Jane poetry, maybe, I don't know, but about 50. The teachings in that body of work will rock your world. It is amazing, and I think it's just another form of the same source that Neville delivered to us. Neville gave us a more direct, scriptural, focused, direct path, where Seth, because as I said this before in other videos, Jane did not want to take anything biblical or scriptural in any form that Seth was going to deliver. It could not be through scriptural terms. She would not have it. Her mother was a very strict Roman Catholic, raised Jane that way, Jane Roberts, and she resented that because of her strict mother. So in going into this channeling concept and going into out of bodies and all this other stuff, she could only do it while sitting there and talking, and she actually did not want to be, as what sounded to her, the ridiculousness of Edgar Cayce either. Edgar Cayce would lie down, he would go into a state, and he would ascertain the problem someone would have. Maybe they had a sickness. He would tell them, go rub some grapefruit on your knees and everything will be better. They would go do it, and then they would heal, and he was a wonderful healer, wonderful. But Jane didn't like the way he delivered his material. So she decided she was just going to walk. I think that was her first decision. I'm just going to walk while he talks. And then ultimately it began immediately. I'm sure she started to just sit down. The way she went into trance, and Neville stayed conscious the whole time. But the way she went into trance, she would take off her glasses and set them down. And that's when Seth would punch through and then speak in a different voice. And if you've heard that, you can go on YouTube and find Seth's. There's one videotape which I have, and it is also on YouTube. I believe it's put out by, his name is Barry, I believe. He's one of the students of Jane's ESP class, and it's a very good tape. It's got a lot of background stuff in the tape. It's on YouTube. I'll put a link in this. But the bodies of work, when I'm looking back at both of these, as I'm going through all this Neville stuff, after all that Jane Roberts, Robert Butts, and Seth material stuff, which is profound and has laid the groundwork for me to have out of bodies, lucid dreaming, flying in my dreams, all of this stuff is a huge groundwork for then what I can understand, what I'm going to go through with the Neville material. But most importantly, what I'm trying to get to here is, how the heck could you have the same mystical experiences that Neville is experiencing And other people are experiencing them. The same ones. Swaddled baby, swaddled babe, David, the son, the dove. You see doves in churches, in the stained glass. As I reconciled this while I'm working on those lectures, trying to reconcile it, it just shows you how profound the weight of what Neville has said in all of his material. The weight and the reality and the truth of it, as he's trying to describe right here. He's saying, I'm speaking from experience right here, man. I'm not telling you a thesis. I'm not trying to tell you by speculation or theory. I'm telling you because I've experienced it. And I'm coming to you as well, trying to tell you also, this is a wild ride. When you're going to have visions in you, inside of you, that are the same that Neville has had, that are in the book, the 66 books known as the Bible, all interpreted by Neville wonderfully, accurately, like with laser focus. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful that we have this material in the first place. But I'm not trying to compare the two bodies of work, but they are both super wonderful in their own right. They stand on their own feet. If you stay with Neville only and you never look at the Jane material or the Seth material, fine. There's some rocky points that I think the Seth material helps you kind of smooth over, like all time is now. That's a very, very important point that the Seth material delivers wonderfully. Seth will teach you that. Seth's prime belief, I'm going to put that right here, right now. This is what Seth called his prime belief, that it would be wise for us to adopt, like Milliken's, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. That was a wonderful prime belief he instigated within himself. Milliken did, and then he went on to major success. Seth delivered a prime belief that he thought that the students should adopt, and it's a wonderful one. And if I can dictate it from memory, it goes like this: I am a. Now write this down and repeat it, because it's a worthy prime belief to start laying that foundation within you. If you're missing this, okay? This is for us. My beginnings weren't easy, okay? So I had to go through these lessons. If you're like me and you need these little pieces, take this one, write it down and layer it into your sets. I am a worthy, deserving person. I have a right to my life in this universe. I have a right to be because I am. Exclamation point. Now what's wonderful, when I caught up to that prime belief, I just saw that a couple weeks ago, maybe a month, I thought, whoa, so Seth delivered this wonderful prime belief, and right at the end, what's at the end of that prime belief? His name. Right, not at the beginning. So he tricked Jane, in my opinion, he tricked it by Jane, because I don't think she even was as aware of what we are aware of as the phrase I am, and that how that is his name, and that you can't even speak without even using that his name first. But Seth delivered that right at the end of that prime belief, which I thought was crafty, considering everything we know right now, studying this together this far. Okay, back to the lecture. Don't forget that prime belief. It's a very, very good one. Another one, as a bonus, no extra charge. I live in a safe universe. Another one worth writing down. I'm going to make some meditation lectures that are going to include those, but write those down. Start layering them into your sats. I live in a safe universe. Back to the lecture. A few years ago, William Blake, he died in 1827. A few years ago, William Blake, he died in 1827, and I met him in these heavenly spheres, the majestic patriarch, and he said to me, now remember, Neville met him in his out-of-body state, his lucid dream state, his vision state. Who cares what the words are? In his not physical body state, Neville met William Blake. He said to me, stand still Now fall backwards and let yourself go. No restraint, just fall. I obeyed him, and I fell like some interstellar star falling through infinite space. I have done this dozens of times. That exact thing that William Blake told Neville to do. You just fall back right behind your headboard or your wall, whatever you're sleeping in front of, and just go down through space. The planet's not even there. You're just going through space. I fell like some interstellar star falling through infinite space. When I came to, I looked and I saw this scintillating being, this heavenly creature, human and yet not human. Human, yes, but it was all light, all fire, and the heart was like living ruby. As I looked at it, I was looking at myself. Here I was looking at my very being. I came closer to discover the whole vast world of man was encased within me. Humanity in its fullness was encased within that one being, and I am it. All the nations, all the races in the world were right in that body. As I looked at the bit of myself containing it all, I then felt myself crystallize, and here I am in this world of shadows once more. That story is true of every being in the world. And then Blake revealed to me what he meant when he said, all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. I never fully understood those words before, but then with this vision, I understood it. Then I understood more clearly than ever before his vision called the vision of the Last Judgment, where all the characters of the Bible are not characters at all, but only states of consciousness. Myself personally, the Seth material warmed me up to that understanding that everyone is you pushed out. The Seth material is wonderful at teaching you that you are creating your own reality. And if you want to call it a co-creation, meaning you're creating a reality together with another person, feel free, but it's still you creating your own reality. Those 5 words, YCYOR, you create your own reality, are definitely attributed to Seth because he said them probably 1 billion times in all of his books. Like Neville, it's like Seth is just repeating the same thing over and over and over and over. You create your own reality. How? By your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. Neville says the same thing. Now, I love the quote where Neville says, if you know your thoughts are creating your reality, then what is it you're thinking? What is it you're focusing on? What are you thinking? Pay attention to it. Coin of heaven, mental diets. This understanding that Blake, that he was scratchy with and getting to understand through Blake, it was definitely something I picked up with the Seth material wonderfully. And that's specifically the nature of personal reality. It used to be what I would call a deserted on an island book, where if you had one book, that would be the book. For years, for decades, that would be the book. Now we know all books are right here, okay? When we speak of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all these characters, they aren't persons as we are. They are states of consciousness. And the individuals are only representative or visions of these eternal states as they were revealed to mortal man as we are in the series of divine visions as they were recorded for us in our Bible. I have seen them in my vision, and you and I can be in any one of these states anytime. A certain pattern that we pass through. But we can be any state, and to do it, who does it? Don't you say God can do it. God can do anything. But I would change the word if you would not be offended, and that means what I formerly called God. And still do, because I like the name. I call divine imagining. And divine imagining and human imagining are one. They aren't two. An imaginal act is an immediate objective fact. Functioning on low intensities as we are, an imaginal act is realized in a time process. And so every vision as it stands, there I assume that I am. But at the moment, reason denies and my senses deny, but I assume that I am. And if I assume it, and it seems to me real and natural, when I break the spell, I know I have planted it. And then it has its own appointed hour. Every vision has its own period of gestation, as we are told by the prophet. Quote, it has its own appointed hour. It ripens, it will flower. If it seems slow, then wait. It is sure, it will not be late. If you see it clearly in your mind's eye, if you were really in the image, it will become just as objective as this room is now. And again, I am speaking from experience. Again, practice with the parking spaces. Get the successes. Get a free cup of coffee. Get a parking space. Get a rose. Get whatever. Practice on the things that you do not have a large emotional attachment to the outcome. Sitting in my chair at home or reclining on a couch or in my bed, suddenly, without my eyes being physically open, I see a world that I would not see if I know where I am physically, and I can't deny it. It's just as real as you are. While he's sitting there imagining a world, it's just as real as when we open these. It's objective. It is seemingly solidly real, and consciousness follows vision, and I step into the world that I am observing. And stepping into my image, it closes around me. And this world, which is seemingly the only world I should know, is shut out. The one he's leaving and going into his imaginary world, he's leaving the one where his body is. And I am part of the world I contemplated. I am in it. I explore that world, and it is just as solidly real as this world. And I can't find my way back to this world. Uh-oh. Then I discovered the way back, and the way was feeling. Wow. Standing in that world with no street leading to this world, I assumed my head was on a pillow. On the bed, in the room, in the house, in the city that I knew so well. And feeling it, I suddenly found myself as though standing vertically. I felt myself in a horizontal position, and I am back. But I am cataleptic. I can't move the body. It is just as frozen as this little instrument here on the table. Just as solid, just as stiff. Within, say, half a minute, I could move my finger and then my elbow, and then after great effort, I could move an eyelid and open my eyelid. As I opened the eyelid, I looked at the familiar objects on the wall that I knew so well. I am back in this world, and now this world has shut out that world. That's what it's like in a dream. While you're in the dream, again, I learned this very heavily from Seth. All the dream training and the understandings of dreams and what's happening in dreams, I learned very masterfully from Seth. I am back in this world, and now this world has shut out that world. Because when you're in that world, the dream world, this is the dream to that conscious self there. Your consciousness here now is one thing. When you go into your dream state or your imaginary state like Neville's describing right now, then this is the dream state. That's where your consciousness is focused. I am back in this world, and now this world has shut out that world. I tell you, there are worlds within worlds. Again, back to the Seth material. You learn that wonderfully by Seth. In the Neville material, he would say all God's creations are done. That's worlds within worlds. Or in the Seth material, the phrasing is probable realities. Infinite amounts of probable realities. All probable realities exist simultaneously. That would be the Seth version. Here you can take an image, the image of your success if you want success, the image of your awakening if you want it, any image, and then you contemplate it. And maybe you will see it as I am seeing you now. And then consciousness may, and I hope it will, follow your vision. And you will walk right into that image, and it will close around you. Closing around you just as I did this. And you have planted it. You entered that age, as it were, and fertilized it. And bear in mind, it is the image, and the vision has its own appointed hour. Don't try to hasten it. It ripens. It will flower. But if for you, because you were impatient, it seems slow, then wait. It will not be late, not for itself, nor to a world, unless they are the same species and would ripen in the same interval of time. A chicken hatches out in 21 days. Some things come out in 5 months. Some things come out in a year, and some come out in 2 years. And someone just made a comment, and it was imagining for others how that was easy, but not so much for yourself. And that was a very big challenge for myself as well. And I want to add, it was in the video just before this. Let me see if I can see it real quick and see what his name is, because I want to give him a shout out because it's a good question. Human imagination. That was a good question, and it's imagining lovingly for others and seeing those come true, but yet not for yourself so quick. And this is all about. There's a lot of things at work here. I am a worthy, deserving person. I have a right to my life in this universe. I have a right to be because I am. Self-love. I love you. That self-love in the mirror. There's a lot of very value-based stuff happening. Do I feel like I deserve it? There's a lot of pieces at work at once right here. So a lot of these have to be answered and dealt with and plugged away. And in addition to the way he's coming at it, the interval of time. It's a pregnancy. How long did it take Victor to make Goddard Enterprises appear as a building bought for them? That took 2 years. Neville mentioned in a lecture I just heard, took something 5 years. What does it matter what it takes? Again, I'm over the 3-year mark right here. So patience. It will not be late. A chicken hatches in 21 days. Some things come out in 5 months. Some things come out in a year. And some come out in 2 years. I'm sure he's referring to Victor right there. And so we plant things in this world. And each has its own period of gestation. You are sowing. No doubt about it. Don't think for one moment in the world as we know it, as we are, that you are going to think it now and then force ripening, as it were. Leave it. It will come as you wish in its own full time. It will. Believe it. God is real. You may not question it. I don't, but in 1963, the scientific world would question it. I don't know all the uses of the word God, but I like it. But if it will help you any, I use the word I use most, imagination. Because to me, when I think of God, I mean the same as when I say divine imagination. When I speak of Christ, I mean divine imagining. God in action. We are told God is Christ reconciling the world to himself. Imagining is Christ, which is God in action. So imagination in Christ, with his imagination, imagining, is reconciling the whole vast world to himself. But if it offends you, go back to the word God. But don't put God on the outside of something separated from you, because he is not. God's revealed name to this world is I am. All capitals. That is his great name. Can you say, I am? That is God. What am I doing? I am thinking you are no good. Well, that is what you are doing. That is God in action. And do you know you will live to see the day you are right? So I am doing what? Anything in this world, all things are possible to God. When you say, I don't believe so-and-so, perfectly all right. That's your privilege. But who is not believing it? I am, you say. Well, that is God. Don't believe it? I am no good. I can't make a living. Well, that is your privilege. Believe it. And may I tell you how true God is? He'll prove it. You can do the opposite. Just as easily, just as swiftly. And whether you call it reward or punishment, it's meted out the same either way. Finally, you are relieved and you will say to me, I told you it's no good. Can't you realize that you are setting it in motion and you are fertilizing it in your world? For God's only revealed name is I am. So what are you imagining? Again, back to Neville. I love that one. Today in the New York Times, Brooke Atkinson has this article. He just returned from Leningrad. They were not concerned when he started, though, to examine his baggage concerning liquor or tobacco, which is the item they all look for it brings in revenue. They were only concerned about ideas. They said, do you have any magazines? He said, no, none. Do you have the Bible? He said, no. That is the only thing they questioned the second time. Do you really mean that? Do you have a Bible? It is the only thing they really wanted to prove beyond doubt he did not bring into Russia. And they could read, they know the Hebrew tongue, the Greek tongue, they have the different concordances. They could look back and find the true meaning of God and find it really means imagination. That is exactly what the word means. The word potter in Hebrew means imagination. And who makes anything? If God made me out of the clay, out of the dust, was he not a potter? And I, the made, and he, the maker was the imagination. And the imagination sunk himself in the thing made and then gave me himself. Take that book of falsehood across the border that man may discover who God really is. That he does exist, that he will now, without the consent of Mr. Khrushchev, assume they have a different form of government and no power in the world can stop it from externalizing itself in the world if they do it. So not cigarettes, not liquor, not anything, furs, diamonds, bring them all in. They are all part of our way of living, but don't bring in the Bible. In this country of ours, we aren't teaching the Bible. We're teaching ritual and ceremony, and it's all vague. It hasn't a thing to do with the Bible. The Bible is God's revelation of himself to man. If you never saw the inside of a church, it makes no difference. In fact, we are told in the Bible not to build a church. But man insists on building churches. Build no temple for me, I build one for you. This is what he builds, but don't you build one for me. 2 Samuel 7. Do not build me any tabernacle in this world. I'll build one for you. And some scribe, to justify the building of tabernacles, inserted the 13th verse, which all scholars agree is an insertion. It is not found in the ancient manuscript. I tell you, the drama begins in this manner. God made us, and we are dead. And there is no way to make us alive and creative as he is unless he buries himself in us. And this is the mystery of life through death. John 12:24. As I said, I am going through the experiences and sharing them with you. There are visions, clear visions I'm having inside of me. as I wake up mostly in the morning. If the proof is not in the pudding, I don't know where it is. A grain of wheat, unless it falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it falls and dies, it brings forth much. So he plants himself in us and is crucified on us. Listen to the crucifixion. The crucifixion is over. Romans 6:5. You aren't going to be crucified again. You're already crucified. If we have been united with Christ in a death like his, we shall certainly be united with him in a resurrection like his. The resurrection is to be, it takes place individually. And may I tell you from experience, it is true. God's mightiest act is the resurrection, and each individual will be resurrected. And the day that you will be the most startled being in the world. Because until that moment, you had no idea that you were dead. You had no idea that you were entombed. It seemed so natural to walk this earth and play the part that you are playing and think you are alive. You move from the cradle to the grave thinking you are alive. And in this moment in time, you are suddenly resurrected. At the moment of resurrection, you become awake, aware of it, in your being startled. Joseph was 110 years old when he left. In Hebrew, every letter, every number has a certain meaning. 100 is the letter with its symbolical value of the back of the skull. Kuf. Q-O-P-H, pronounced kuf. 10 is the hand, the yod, and the yod begins the name of God. If you could sever the hand from man, he would not be creative, just simply nothing. The hand fashions, the hand molds, it is a symbol of creativity, and so in the back of man's skull, a creative act is going on. As we are told in Philippians, he who began a good work in me will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. He started it in you. He initiated it. He will complete it. And a work is going on in man of which man is totally unaware. He is being fashioned into the image of God. When that image is complete to the satisfaction of God, divine imagining, he awakens. He awakens him where he started the work. He started it in the back of his skull. He awakens in his skull to find he is entombed. There is one moment of panic, and then you make an effort to get out of this fabulous sepulcher, and you come out of your skull like someone being born, and that is your spiritual self. You don't know a thing about it. It is being done for you. Forget it. You were born physically by the action of a power not your own. You will be born spiritually by the action of powers beyond your own. Don't try to be holy. This whole paragraph coming right now is bold. Don't try to be holy. God isn't making good people holy people. God is making creators just like himself. If you think you are holy, that is not the key into paradise. No matter how good you are, no matter how holy you are, holiness is not the key that allows you to enter that special grace, your creativity. God is doing it for you, working on you, bringing you to complete fruition and fulfillment. Try this principle of imagining, and if there's one thing I think man could do to aid, as something within a shell could aid the bird, the key is given to us in the book of Job. He complained and complained of all the things that were happening to him, but his captivity was lifted when he prayed for his friends. If you would use your imagination lovingly on behalf of another and rejoice in his good fortune without any reward to you, You will see how this thing will begin to unfold within you. Back to the user, the commenter, I believe is human imagination. That's the answer you were looking for, and it's quite a timely question. Human.imagination, the revising for other people and then it not working so fast on yourself. That was it right there. And I said I was going to make a separate video, but Neville delivered the goods. I did contemplate that for a couple of days since you left that comment, and it is a very profound comment. It's very much at the heart. It's at the heart of what what I was going through was that same question. Why does it work so well on others so easily? I can fix knees, I can fix all kinds of things. Then you do it for yourself and you're like, wait, what? There's a lot of little pieces that are going to work together in this one moment. And I've only been at it 3 years. I don't know how long you have human imagination. I'm speaking to you now. Put in the comments if you get a chance, if you want to share it. How long have you been at the Neville Goddard material with concerted focus? And when I get into something, I dive full. I don't put a toe or a foot in or a leg in. I go all the way in. And I've been at this all the way in, all in for the 3 years plus 3 or 4 months now. And I believe in Job right here is the answer to that question you had for me and you. I'm doing this through example, man. I'm learning through example. So this isn't like I'm in some holy place. Oh, I figured this out. Now you can too. No, I'm figuring it out too. And here's our answer. Listen to this. He complained and complained of all the things that were happening to him, Job. But his captivity was lifted when he prayed for his friends. If you would use your imagination lovingly, and I know you are, on behalf of another and rejoice in his good fortune without any reward to you, you will see how this thing will begin to unfold within you. Of course, you had the swaddled babe. I know you mentioned that. So you're already there. You're like at the threshold of doing it for yourself. So here's the book of ours. Here is this book of ours, the beginning of all, truly. It is divine imagining, and divine imagining buries itself in man in a coffin in Egypt. The word coffin is the same as the word ark. The letter kuf, Q-O-P-H, kuf, is this, and you and I have no idea. I know I had none. I thought I was still alive. I thought everyone was alive or dying. They became either filled with dreams or visions or unconsciousness, but when I awoke, then I was alive, awake. Oh boy. No better way to put it. I mean, I've learned some wonderful things with the Seth material, like I said, and also with some other most advanced sales training I've gone through, just most advanced stuff called the Sandler sales training method. Most advanced psychological stuff. And I thought I reached the crown of learning and realizing and being awake. Man, right there. They became either filled with dreams or visions or unconsciousness, but when I awoke, then I was alive, awake. I didn't realize it was a dream within a dream. Here we are dreaming the most fantastic nightmares in the world. The day will come, you will awake, and you will see, as Blake describes it, I behold the visions of my deadly sleep of 6,000 years, dazzling around the skirts like a serpent of precious stones and gold. I know it is myself, O divine creator and redeemer. End quote. He had no idea that he had slept for 6,000 years in his strange dream. One day he was resurrected and he beheld this redeemer of his as a serpent of precious stones and gold and knew it was himself. I was listening to a lecture today of Neville's where he called our talent, our main talent is redemption. The ability of redemption. Gives talents, and we use them or we don't use them. We don't use them, they're taken away. We use them, they're multiplied. The parable of talents. And our talent is that of redemption. And what does redemption mean? As a Neville Goddard word interpretation, it means a radical change of attitude. What is an attitude? An attitude is a direction. It's a plane coming into an airport has an attitude of flight as it's coming in. As it's taking off, it has an attitude of flight. Excuse my hand, I can't turn it around. As it's taking off, it has an attitude of flight. So as it's going this way, and now if a plane's going like this and it's got the wrong attitude, it's going to end up in trouble. If it's got the right attitude, it's coming in with this attitude. Attitude means the same thing. A radical change of attitude is what redemption means. We can change our attitude. We can change it anytime we want. And that is our talent. We change our attitude. We change our direction. We change our destination. God has so transferred himself to the individual that he became the being who was taken out of the state of innocence into the world of experience, and now awoke in a world completely subject to the imaginative power. When I saw it, I had no idea that I was it. I hadn't, I hadn't the slightest idea that the spell truly brought me out of a state of innocence for his own purpose. And although he took me through these frightening nightmares of 6,000 years, he took me through as the only way he could awaken and bring me to the state where I was not only responsive, but I became a creator and prepared to live on a higher level, one with the gods. I will repeat this sentence. It's very wonderful and it's long. There's a lot in this one sentence. Whew. He's a master of long sentences like Seth. I hadn't the slightest idea that the spell truly brought me out of a state of innocence for his own purpose. And although he took me through these frightening nightmares of 6,000 years, he took me through as the only way he could awaken and bring me to the state where I was not only responsive, but I could become, but I became, a creator and prepared to live on a higher level, one with the gods. Everyone in the world will pass through the same state. For the Bible is your biography. The only subject in the Bible is about God. And because it is your biography, it is all about you. And you are God. So, stop looking for God on the outside. He sunk himself in you. Now test it. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless indeed you fail to meet the test. 2 Corinthians 13:5. I tell you, I know Blake hasn't died because I meet him. He died seemingly to the world, leaving behind him only the works he gave us in the printed form. I talked with him. It was he who actually told me what to do to see what he wrote in his Jerusalem. How to see one man containing the whole vast world. I had no idea when he told me that when I came to a rest, I would see myself as that man. I simply obeyed him and fell backwards and came hurtling through space like some meteor. And then when I came to a rest, here is this heavenly being, radiant being that is all aflame, and I saw it was myself. As I approached it, it contained all the nations in the world. I actually see myself containing all the nations in the world. And then he explained to me, all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Repeating this very, very important point, it's the realization of this one thing that You can start to close these robbers, these eyes, close the closet door. When you start to realize this one sentence or two right here, you realize that you're creating it from within. And I love another spot where Neville says, if you hear yourself, you can pretty much hear it coming from you. You can almost hear it whisper from you. As I approached it, it contained all the nations in the world. I actually see myself containing all the nations in the world. And then he explained to me, quote, all that you behold, that's all that you see, though it appears without, that's on the outside, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Take any image in the world and enter it, and the image becomes objectively real within your world. It is all contained within you. Take out poverty, it's there. Take out wealth, it's there. Take out recognition, it's there. Take out the unknown state, it's there. Everything is there. And each state is personified. So you approach a state and the state is personified. And as you encounter the state, you enter the state. And then you externalize it into your world. You are living in a world of shadows, says he, until that day when you are resurrected. You will continue your journey for a little while, telling the story as you encountered it to those who will listen. And then when you take off your garment this time, you take it off for the last time. You will never put it on again. There is no garment of flesh in the resurrection. Now let us go into the silence. If you're driving, you're not closing your eyes. You're contemplating. You're in your own silence. You're imagining lovingly for your friends, for a friend. I don't know if the birds are coming in through the microphone, but they're right outside my door. You're also imagining lovingly for yourself, and you're seeing that your imagination's been casting these images onto your screen of space. Anything and everything in your screen of space, on your screen of space, is coming from you. You want to change that screen of space? You're changing now what you are imagining. Good, as Neville would say at the end of his silence period. The Bible, Your Biography. Wow. Neville Goddard, February 5th, 1963. Amazing lecture. I'm telling you, he came out of those 4 mystical experiences, or 6, however you want to count it. And in 1963, I think he's done with the mystical experiences, and he is communicating this profoundly. And this whole last piece, I find my favorite. You will continue your journey for a little while, telling the story as you encountered it to those who will listen. And thankfully, we have an evergreen space like YouTube where we can share this, and it can pretty much stay there, literally, and just be replayed. Then you will take off this garment, take off your garment this time, and you take it off for the last time. The first thing my teacher told me when she did my breakdown, when I first consulted with her, it was that same exact thing that, in this certain qualities she saw in this consultation. She said, yeah, you're working on your last life here, and this is it. This is your last time. I'm just like, that was way back when I was 25, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? It was so much to learn and so much, and I have learned, and it's wonderful. But anyway, good lecture. Oh my goodness. So we're going to see you in the next one.